Hello, my name is Dr. Yaya Sissoko. Today we're going to talk about Chapter 7, Consumer, Producer, and the Efficiency of Market, Consumer Surplus. So what is welfare economy? Welfare economy is defined as a study of how the allocation of resources affect economic well-being. In other words, it measures the benefit that buyer and seller receive from engaging in the market transaction. It also tells us how society can maximize this benefit. In any market, the equilibrium of supply and demand maximize the total benefit received by all buyer and seller. Let's begin with the definition of consumer surplus. What is a consumer surplus? The consumer surplus is the willingness to pay. It's a maximum amount that a buyer will pay for a good. It's how much buyer value for the good. So how do you measure consumer surplus? To measure consumer surplus, you take the amount that buyer is willing to pay for the good minus the, the amount that buyer actually pay for it. In other words, you take the willingness to pay minus the price paid. Table 1 show the four possible buyer willingness to pay for Elvis Presley first album. So John is willing to pay up to $100 for the Elvis Presley first album. Paul up to $80, George up to $70, and Rinko up to $50. Figure 1 shows the demand schedule and the demand curve. Looking at the demand schedule, if the price is more than 100, none of them will buy the album. The quantity demand is zero. The price is between 80 and 100, only John will buy. The quantity demand is 1. 70 and 80, John and Paul will buy. The quantity demand is 2. 50 and 70, John, Paul, and Joe will buy. The quantity demand is 3. If the price is $50 or less, all four will buy. The quantity demand is 4. Looking at the demand curve, so when the price is over 100, then the quantity demand is equal to 0. If the price is 100, only John would be willing to pay for it. The quantity demand is 1. If the price is 80, John and Paul would be willing to pay for it, to pay the album, then the quantity demand will be 2. If the price is 70, so John, Paul, and Joe will be willing to pay for it, and the quantity demand will be 3. If the price is 50 or below, all four will be willing to purchase for it, and the quantity demand is 4. So at any quantity, the price given by the demand curve show the willingness to pay of the marginal buyer. So how do you measure the consumer surplus in a market? It's the area below the demand curve and above the price. Figure 2 deal with how you measure consumer surplus with the demand curve. So panel A show the price is at $80. So then the price is $80. The only buyer then will be John. So John consumer surplus is going to be $20. You take the willingness to pay by John for $100 minus the price actually pay 80, this will give you $20 as this surplus. Panel B, the price is at 70. So if the price is 70, so we have two buyers, so the quantity purchased will be two. So John consumer surplus is 30. So you take his willingness to pay for the album, $100, minus the price actually pays 70. So that's give you $30. And for Paul consumer surplus is going to be 10. You take his willingness to pay for the album $80, minus the price actually pays 70, which will give you $10. So the total consumer surplus is 40. So you take the surplus for John plus the surplus for Paul. 30 plus 10 is equal to 40. Figure 3 show how price affects consumer surplus. In panel A, consumer surplus is at it's at price P1. So price at P1, so the surplus is going to be the area below the demand curve, this area, and above the price, which is represented by the triangle A, B, and C. In panel B, consumer surplus at price P2 is now, so because the decrease in the price from P1 to P2, the quantity, the quantity increases from Q1 to Q2. So we have the initial, consumer surplus, triangle A, B, and C. So we have also, so an additional consumer surplus to initial consumer, which is, which is going to be this area. So B, C, E, and D, plus the consumer surplus to new, to new consumer, which is going to be this area, C, E, and F. So because of the decrease in the price from P1 to P2, the new additional consumer surplus will be area B, C, F, and D. The consumer surplus is the benefit that buyer receive from the good. It's a good measure for the economic well-being, except except for illegal drugs. Drug addicts are willing to pay a higher price for heroin.